And joining me here, I have an amazing group of women who are going to make this conversation very powerful, I believe. So I am going to let them introduce themselves, but I'll let you know who is joining me here. So starting from my left side over there, Camila Coutinho, Aayati Yasmine Sterea, Maira Genovese, and Tati Lindenberg. So first of all, a round of applause to them, please. And I want each of you to talk a little bit about you, introduce yourselves. Let's start with you, Camila, because I think it's
Hi, guys. Good morning. I'm Camila. I'm from Brazil. Basically, I'm the first Brazilian blogger. I've been doing this for 19 years already. And during this journey, the business evolved into a lot of things. So nowadays, I have myself, my blog, apart from me, and also a hair care brand, and also a social project, which I'm very proud. That's called GE, Formando Líderes. In English, building leaders. Yes, empowering leaders. It's like a little baby of World Woman Fund, and we help women empower themselves through entrepreneurship. So I'm very happy to be here.
Hello, everyone. Is this working? Okay. It's working. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Aayati Dashkar. I am the youth lead for World Women Foundation, the founder of a Metaverse called Queendom Metaverse. And if you don't know what it is, it gives access between girls between 10 to 18 access to coaching, capital, community, commerce opportunities, and showcase their creativity. I'm launching my second book, See It, Do It, Be It, and Con this year. So that's about me.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yasmine Sterea, and I'm the founder and CEO of Free Free. Free Free is an ecosystem of change where we have a social enterprise and a foundation that supports women to free themselves within so that they can free the world. So we work with trauma, but also we work how we can release that might be constraining us and culturally or experiences that we had in our past so that we can reach our highest potential and become leaders. We have a methodology that makes this come to life, and we use art and fashion and music to make the transformation more cathartic. So thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you, Rupa, again for the invitation. I feel very honored. So my name is Maira Genovese. I'm the CEO and founder of MG Empower. So MG Empower is a global integrated market agency. I founded the business 9 years ago, and for me, it was not just about creating an advertising market agency, but more about how a female women could develop, create a business. I'm a foreigner from Brazil, so there was a lot of challenge for me as a woman to find a space, especially in a market that is not a country that I was born. And MG is not, again, so it's not just about the business itself, but how can I use the platform of MG to empower other women, to empower creativity and actually make an impact, not just for our clients, but for the people that work with us. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Tati Lindenberg. I am a proud Latina, also born in Brazil. I have an 11-year-old boy, and I go for she and her. I've been working in Unilever for 20 years. Over the last 4.5, I've been looking after Dirt is Good. So I'm the Global Senior Vice President for DIG. For the ones who have no idea what I'm talking about, Dirt is Good is the largest laundry detergent brand in the world. And basically, it has different names. So for the ones living in Brazil, China, Vietnam, South Africa, Australia, it's called Omo. For the ones living in the UK, it's Persil. For the ones living in America, we are not present there yet. So I'm really sorry. You have to handle or use the competitors. But that's pretty much who I am. And thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And as you can see, we have an amazing group of women here to lead this conversation. So I'm gonna start with a more general question and about creativity. So we usually think of creativity in the sense of marketing, product development, marketing strategies, business development. How do you think that we can use creativity to actually drive some positive impact within businesses or personal projects? Does anyone want to start with this one?
Okay. No. Unilever is recognized as a company that constantly tries to drive positive change in the world across many different brands. And the way that I try to unleash creativity within Dirt is Good is by making sure that people working in Dirt is Good believe in it. So Dirt is Good is all this philosophy or brand essence, brand idea, and an innovation platform pushing for the very human truth that once you get stuck in and you get dirty and you go outside and you do your best and try, you will achieve more. You will unleash your full potential. And what I usually tell people in my team, even when I interview, is, do you believe in it? Because if you don't have the shared values with the brand, it's not going to work. And that's what I believe is essential for creativity. Everybody has, but you can only be creative on a given brand, business, foundation if you believe in what you're doing. So even in a big corporation like Unilever, that's my mantra. I need people in my team and even myself to truly believe in it.
I just want to say it's amazing to have Unilever beside us because, Unilever was our first sponsor when we did our first workshop and with the Department of Justice, that we basically brought in creativity is the base of everything Free stands for. Because women, when we are in certain situations while we're growing up and people tell us, you can't do this, you can't do that, we start hiding our creativity because our creative self is linked to our most vulnerable selves in a positive way. So the more we hide that, the less we're connected to our feminine and to our creative self. So Free is basically teaching women through this exquisite methodology to unleash that creativity so that they can remind themselves of all their talents and gifts, because all of us, we're so talented, we have so many different gifts, and use that not only for themselves, but also to drive positive change in the world. Because we need creative solutions. What's going on with the world of the unbalance of the masculine and the feminine, so many issues with violence against women, abuse, women that we're not nearly close to as many women we need in leadership positions. But we are leaders when we take that first step to make the change within ourselves so that we connect with our creativity and change the world.
I think creativity is a great great skill to have to survive in this world. I think we have to be creative to survive and to find ways to achieve our goals. Either is the best environment or not. And I think creativity only grows in a place where love surrounds. So when you are born in a home that's a lot of love, you're not afraid to try new things. And when you're not, you're afraid of everything. So I think the work you're doing with trauma is amazing. But I think if you're grown up and you weren't raised in a home with love, we must find places we feel loved to unleash our creativity, because we need to feel vulnerable, as we were talking before here, before this start.
Piggybacking off what everyone said, I think I'm going to take a perspective of girls, because I am an 11-year-old, but I don't go by my age, I go by my attitude. But I think girls' abuse and discrimination remains unrecognized almost, right? But it still exists. We forget that. Girls' stereotyping remains unrecognized, and we also forget that. But it still exists, right? And I think creativity is not about beautifying everything that's around you. It's not about making everything beautiful. Creativity almost has taken this idea in media and advertising of beautifying girls, right? I feel that's wrong. The self-esteem of girls does not rely on products. Making them beautiful is not going to empower them. So I think creativity is about empowering them to be able to solve the problems of the future. That's what I believe creativity, that's how it's driving change, because it's not about marketing and making girls beautiful, right?
I would just add one point that I think the importance of creativity is like, how can we use creativity to educate as well, right? Because it's important to have the educational piece, and then how can we make a change using creativity, but also through creativity, educated consumer, educated people, because it's so important that it's not just about having an amazing campaign, but like that's what we're saying about Dirt is Good, right? So it's incredible creative, vision that you guys have, but at the same time, you're really educating on the fact that go there and play, get a dirt, and it's just like enjoying life, but in a positive and sustainable way. So I think how can you combine both? I think it's very empowering. And then creativity is like, we're talking about empowering is, in love, what Camila said, is just like because everyone has a gift and everyone can be creative, but how much are you empowering your team, you empower your business to let them to expose, to let them to talk, because it's not everywhere that you have the freedom to be creative. So how can you actually break those boundaries and let everyone to add value on the creativity? I think it's super, super important.
Amazing. I'm going to ask a question now to Camila specifically, because you guys talked a little bit about the beauty industry. And of course, Camila has a beauty brand in Brazil, Gé Beauty. So I wanted to ask you, how do you think creative, because the beauty industry is a category with many stereotypes. We know that, right? So how can we use creativity in this industry to try to amplify female voices and at the same time break a little bit this stereotype from your perspective?
I was at a panel yesterday, which I loved, about disruption, and it said that to find disruption, you have to identify the convention, have the vision, and then the idea is the disruption. So Gé Beauty was born to disrupt the beauty hair care industry in Brazil, because we are a line customizable. So I have 36 years. I've grown buying products that told me what to do, like your hair looks ugly, buy it. Your skin looks ugly, buy it. And we built a line that the consumer can buy and then figure out what she wants to do with that. Okay, so today I want my hair to look like this, or I have to take care of this. So she has to pay attention on her before she gets to use the product. And it's very hard because you have to reteach the use, you know what I'm saying? But it makes us very proud, because we not only teach a different way of seeing beauty, but new ways to wear your hair, like go to your work with your hair wet, see how it dries naturally. So I think this is very empowering, because we have to feel good about ourselves in any way. And I think, I joke that best beauty tip is reading in therapy, because with those, you look great every time. And I also agree with you that with products, they exist to like a tool. We have to use them like a tool, not to like work for them, make them work for us. So that's our goal with Gé Beauty.
Great. And still, I think, connected to beauty, we have fashion. And Yasmine, your background is in fashion. And I believe that's what inspired you to use creativity as the leading force of Free, right? So how do you see, from the same perspective of beauty, how do you see creativity being used in fashion today to try to break some stereotypes that we have in fashion, and even some rules that we have in fashion that I think we are changing now? But how do you see this the creativity driving impact in the creative industry as well?
Well, I left the creative I didn't leave the creative industry. I left the fashion industry. I worked for 11 years as an editor and then fashion creative director at Vogue. And when I got pregnant of my daughter, I was about 28. 7 years before that, I lost my mother to suicide. And when I was 28, I was having a girl. And I was looking at my work that was already, I was in the top of my career. I wouldn't go with my age as well. I was 23, 24, shooting people like Rihanna and then Kim Kardashian, all these big celebrities. But I was 28 having this girl looking at my life, and I said, the fashion world is teaching women to fit in a box, and I'm part of that system. So Free Free came as a solution, not for the fashion industry, but for the women that were being taught for ages by the media to be a determined way. And this I call the myth of the perfect girl or the myth of the perfect woman. And it took me years to break that in me. And I said, my daughter can't live in the same world. We can't bring up girls and women thinking they only have to fit in one box. I was always called at Vogue a bit of a rebel. No? So I was always trying, people would tell me like, you can't do that shoes with that thing, you have to do the look this way. And I'm like, why? Who made this rule, right? So we women and the fashion industry, the fashion is actually a great way for us to find ourselves. Instead of fashion telling us how we should be to be honorable, to fit in this group or that group, right? What we need to do with fashion is rediscover our characters and undress those characters from what we're supposed to be, but use that as a playful tool to show yourself, your true self, to the world. So if we use fashion in that way, it's a very powerful tool. But if we are blind and we have all the veils kind of showing us do this and do that, we're also using fashion to hide ourselves. And this is actually when we kind of put our creativity down and let our power go away. So to reclaim that power through creativity and fashion and beauty is basically use it as a tool, like Camila was saying, but not use it to tell your story, make your own story through it.
Yeah, and I think in that sense, leadership makes a huge difference, right? Not only in beauty and fashion industries, but I do think that the change in leadership can make a difference in the way people work and the impact that people work for every day. So going a little bit to leadership, I would like to ask you, Aayati, as a young leader, how do you see young leaders making the change and using creativity to make the change? Or do you think there's something missing? What's missing in that sense as well?
Yeah, of course. I think our generation, for example, is very concerned with climate change. And we are concerned of those issues because we know the impact it will have on our generation in the future. And as Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, we have a lot of information at hand as well. And we're used to the term equality, how it's used everywhere. And I think if we're going to use those terms, if we're going to say that, I find it frustrating that why do girls, I'm seeing a theme here, right? About beauty, about fitting into a box, about being told what's right. I find it that brands are saying also that you are guilty to not have the product. You are going from objectification to objects. And we know objectification is wrong, but we don't know becoming objects is wrong. We are not standing up to that. And brands are taking advantage of that, right? Because this is this new term called girlification, girl talk, girl math. There's these terms like the girl talk. We can use those to empower girls because the participation on playgrounds in schools is still a struggle. Participation in STEM is still a struggle. Girls' participation is declining in all of these fields that are necessary for their future. So I think that is what is missing. Brands are not integrating themselves in places where the change is really being there, right? right? So I think that's what's missing, and I see youth really being able to see that, and brands need to take action.
Amazing. Does anyone want to build on that? No? Okay. One thing is that girls being told what to do, right? So moving to Maira now with your journey as an immigrant, Brazilian founder, trying to pursue a dream and grow a business abroad. We know how much the corporate environment is still very, very male-led. So, and how many times you probably was told what to do as a woman. So how do you see in your journey, thinking about leadership, as we were saying, how do you see in your journey, how creative you had to be to navigate this environment and thrive in the end?
Yeah, it's not an easy journey when you think about being like a female foreign, living again in a country that you were not born at, and then trying to find a space and have your own business. And I think the learnings that I have been, having the past 9 years is exactly what Helen said. So we are far, far away of having a space that is equally to what the men, right? So especially on the leadership roles, and this became more evidence for me the past 12 months that I was going through a business structure change between the company that I used to own my company, and then change to a new partner. But it's been 12 months where I've been talking with different media groups and private equity, venture capital, and this I always knew it, that my role as a CEO and founder in Foreign was to really use my voice to empower other women to actually go there and make it happen, and then using from my story, my experience, to empower others that if we act together, if we make an action, we can change the space and be more, equal. But this experience was incredible to see. I used to go to meetings with, again, private equity, venture capital, and I used to arrive at the meetings by myself. And they would come to me saying, "Oh, is someone else coming with you?" And I was just like, "No." It's like, "Oh, who is going to do the presentation and the pitch of the business?" They just like, "It's me. I'm the founder. I'm the CEO." And they're like, "But you don't have any male behind you, like to support you?" I was just like, "No." And then other, examples where they're like, "Oh, but if we come to be a partner, we're probably gonna figure out how we're gonna do with the shares of your business, because we don't invest on business that's purely owned by a woman." And I was just like, "What are you talking about?" Because we invest more on male business founder business, and that for me was even more evidence that MG and my story is here to not just, again, empower brands and people, but using this platform as an example and support all the women that are trying to find a space, not necessarily creating a business, but found a space within a corporation that they wanted to to grow, to be a CEO, to be a CMO. So I think we are far away from getting that equality. And then I think creativity plays a huge role for what I've been doing, not just, creativity in terms of creating incredible strategy for our brands and, creating amazing campaigns that's getting awards and etc. But, how can I use creativity to use the platform that I have in my story to empower other women? So there's a lot we still need to do, that I can tell you.
Yeah, I've been part of this journey a little bit with Maira, and yeah, it's still impressive how much we still need to fight as women for space and to have a voice. I'm going to ask a question now to Tati, but I wanted everyone's opinion on that I think we talk about purpose-driven businesses and how much we can use creativity to lead change, but we know that in the end of the day, there's something that we need to think about that is profit, right? The ROI. So Tati, you said that it's super important for you to work and encourage the teams to believe in what they're doing. But how do you balance that with the pressure for profit, the pressure for the ROI? How to navigate this ecosystem and still making a positive impact, but still thinking about the profit? It's a challenge, and I'd like to hear everyone's opinions on that.
So, no, super good question. Well, the way that I see and the way that I've been working at Unilever is that product and purpose, or innovation and brand essence, however we want to name it, they have to be intertwined. They have to be intrinsically related. We see that we fail, even at Unilever, when, for instance, we decided to have campaigns or launching different ideas or bring them up in a way that it's not connected to the product. So the reason why I adore Dirt is Good, and I will also refer to one example from Dove, which I thought about it. But the reason why I love Dirt is Good is when you say the line, Dirt is Good, it is obviously a brand belief, it's a purpose, it's a philosophy, it's about going outside, getting dirty. But I can only say that because I have superior products to clean. I cannot say that not delivering the product. So for me, that is the trick in terms of profit. So the more I say, go outside, dirt is good, the more I will push myself and my team and the research and development team to deliver products for people to go outside and do it. Another important aspect, if you think about Dirt is Good, it's similar to Just Do It from Nike. Let's be honest, Nike just say, just do it. We call it a market development line. Because the more you believe you are an athlete, the more you're going to buy Nike products. The more you believe in Dirt is Good, the more laundry you have to make it. So obviously, what I'm trying to say is the profit comes from the very fact that the idea and the product are related. So the more I deliver Dirt is Good as a platform, the more people will get dirty. To be honest, the whole world will be better, because if you look at the data points nowadays, so many kids, for instance, are just staying home. The amount of time that people and kids spend in front of screen is unbelievable. And that's why there is a beautiful brand idea, there is a beautiful purpose in terms of making this a better world, but it's correlated to the product. And that's why, in addition to making Dirt is Good famous, over the last 4 years, I also have to deliver successfully, thank God, 900 million of incremental turnover. So, and that's why Dirt is Good is now a 4.3 billion brand. So, but I always do the two things, like going hand in hand. And a beautiful example is recently we even won a Cannes for that campaign about period stains. Because blood stains, they are all fine. If you are a little kid and you just, I don't know, fell, or even if you are an adult, you're playing football and you get like a blood stain, it's okay. It's not a stain of shame, it's a stain of pride. But God forbidden that any of us women here, suddenly I would stand up and, oops, I have my period. I don't think I would wear it with pride. I would probably just rush like to the restaurant and try to clean it or do something about it. So these are the type of campaigns that we can do. We can create change. We can push people to say, do I really need to rush it? Of course, you might feel embarrassed, but you don't need to be ashamed of. So we can drive change. We can make this world a better one. But of course, being in a corporation, I will also sell products associated to that. But I have to do it in a way that is very authentic and intertwined, as I've mentioned.
I love everything you said. I think because I'm on a different, type of business. So being an agency, for me, is super important to tell my team all the time, don't think about profitability, think about being creative. Because if I think profitability first, I'm going to start putting boundaries already and a block on their creativity. So for me, it's just like, even like when we have, briefings from our clients, if there is no budget, I will like go and be creative. Doesn't matter what the budget will be. I wanted you to go into a room, do a brainstorm, and then really, really be creative and think outside the box. Because if you get stuck into a number, of course it's important. We need to be profitable at the end of the day, but I don't put that in front of what we do, because I already understood a long time ago when I started the business, if you start thinking first profit, budget, the question like, what's your budget? Of course, sometimes when we have to, to do things that is quickly or is something that we need to deliver in a short period of the time, it's better to know where we're going. But for me, a blank canvas is the best way of you being the most creative. And then the profitability will come organically if you create a great strategy with an incredible purpose-driven, creative, a vision. And because, so if you want to be creative, you think numbers first. For me, it does really put a stop on what you can do above and beyond.
It's funny that in my world, where we do impact, the word profit is seen as a bad word. And I'm going to say something that I feel that is I think this is absolutely wrong. And this is why we're not making more change in the world. So the way I was able to spin that is because when I come to a room and I say, we are a nonprofit, a lot of the people in that room don't value the work we're doing. But if I say, we are a social enterprise, and we have a nonprofit, the game changes. And I get more investment through the social enterprise, where I allocate later to the nonprofit, than people trying to use us as a nonprofit just to make the marketing. So today, the creative way we found to be leading free around the world. We're in 4 continents today. We're in Africa, we're in Europe, we're in South America, Brazil, and then the US, is by making people understand that impact is actually an investment, that people can, yes, profit from it. Why not? There's nothing wrong with that. If you're doing the impact and if there's transparency, plus you're advancing very important things in the world, like climate change, like girls and women's freedom, like abuse, like menstrual poverty, like the shame that women feel when they have the stain in their pants. Since the beginning, Free has been working with brands. So we collaborate with brands. This is how our business model is done until today. And it's amazing that when brands see this potential, like Tati was saying, the unity of an ecosystem like Free and a brand can advance so much, because a brand has a lot of power, not only financial power, but also they're talking to customers every day. Dirt is Good is sending this message to customers every day. They have the power to change. So when they partner with something like Free, we're doing the impact. So this combination is very, very powerful. When we take our methodology to leaders in a company, so for example, we have case studies working years with companies like PepsiCo or, companies like this, Unilever, etc. We teach the methodology to the leaders to free themselves from the constraints, from the golden cage, and so that they can be more creative and, kind of understand that their businesses can do things like this and still create profit from it. And that's not a bad word. That's not a bad word, right? Of course, there's a big thing when we think of greenwashing and stuff like that, where brands are using it, but if they're actually doing it, that's not a bad word. And we need to change that. We need to change that, and especially among women, profit is not a bad word, right? And let's be creative with it. Let's think of solutions that people haven't been thinking of. Because when we're creative, we can generate profit, but we can also, grow the economy and change the world.
I love that.
Me too. I'll vote for you.
I think I will touch upon everyone's points. First, you talked about the bathroom, right? Girls are fixing themselves in the bathroom, and I think they should add this to the Urban Dictionary. I've been thinking about it, bathroom freedom. Like, when girls go to the bathroom, they feel so free. When they go to the playground, they feel they are in a cage. They feel so scared of going outside. And even if they step out of the bathroom, they're like, oh, did the air ruin something with me? It's like, the bathroom freedom is so important, right? And then
I love that, by the way.
And also, you also talked about gender ecosystem, right? I want to challenge that word. Yes, you have to talk to boys differently to sell a product, girls differently to sell a product, but we are not different species. No. We are not the same, but we are equal. And I think that is what is important, to challenge the word gender ecosystem, because we are not objects to be objectified, nor are we products to be popularized, nor are we girls to be girlified. We're girls, and that's enough, and I think that's what's important.
Well, I don't know what to add to that, but I'll try. I think everything we know about ourselves, we learn through consuming things. So I think the brands have a very strong power to either do good or do bad with that. So I admire a lot your work, because the brand you work for, it's been here for a long time. So it's very important that the brand updates itself. But now we have a new generation of brands that were born after all of this and after the pandemic, so after a lot of changes. So everything that's born now, default is supposed to be born with, on a different, how can I say, base. So I think the brands that are born now have a mission and responsibility, because when you know something, you have the responsibility that comes with it to do different. So once I was talking to a friend of mine that works in Ambev, and he's from the LGBT, I don't know how to say in English, community. And I was like, what do you love about working there? And he answered, I know that through this huge place that I work, I'm able to change the world through marketing. So that's why I'm here, and I won't leave, because this chair is mine, and I'll do something with it. So I think this is the mentality in our brands. And I think that's it. That's the power that we conquer. And also, I think, like Yasmine said, women have to talk more about money. Women have to be free to be ambitious and to talk about money, profit, and make those words natural. I think that's going to be amazing for us.
Amazing. Yeah, that was amazing. It was so inspiring to see you all talking about it. So many great insights, and I do think that when you were all sharing your thoughts, I was thinking about the future, because we hear a lot that we are trying to drive the change as women in terms of making the ecosystem, as you said, a little bit more equal, but men should play a part on that as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. How do you think men can play a part on that? Or if you think men should play a part on that, what's missing in that sense? Because I feel like we women, we are always talking about it, but men should be talking about it as well, because as Aayati said, we are all part of this ecosystem, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
I think in order to rebuild the structure, we need everyone that helped build. So it's like teamwork. So we have to bring men close and talk more about, and men raise women too as dads. So they are husbands, they are, I mean, I know Bruno from Maira, her husband, and I know he's very supportive, he's amazing. So my dad is a very positive male figure for me. So I think, yes, we have to bring men to the talk.
Yeah, like I said, that we're not the same, we're equal, and I think I'm the youth lead for World Women Foundation, and I think at World Women Foundation we don't say gender equality, we say gender harmony. And I think the harmonious belief is also very important, right? So that's my take on that.
So at Free Free, we always had the challenge of bringing men to our talks, to our events, to our programs. And it's funny that throughout the years, we only had one company. We have worked with over 70 companies. And we only one time we signed a deal with a man. Every other time was with women. But then there was one project. I did my graduate program at Harvard called In Social Justice, and I was studying this new research from this political scientist called Valerie Hudson, where she looks into data and how countries that have lower indexes of women, gender equality in general, you have more poverty, you have more violence, you have more hunger issues. And we understand that it's not about the women, it's not about the men, it's about humanity and the planet, and everyone is affected by this. And what we did, the first initiative that we did to kind of challenge that was to invite a big singer in Brazil called Seu Jorge. He's a black man. He was a man that came from the slums in Brazil, and he became the superstar. And I invited him because I'm also a white woman, and I wanted to show that we're equals in the sense of we're equals, and we should look at each other, men, women, different races, different ethnicities, different ages, and talk about this. So we launched a campaign called From Inside the House to the Street, because it all begins as children see adults, main leaders of the house as the primary first political order is called this, as mirrors. Of course, today we have many different family scenarios, but if you think of a man and a woman, and the way these two people relate to each other, is there corruption, is there abuse, is there harmony, is there love? Who has power over the money in the house? That, equal decisions. The children are seeing that in a daily way. It becomes a boot camp. And this is how they go outside and work and collaborate with each other and go to their businesses or to their partners, and they think that's the normal way of doing things. So we need a change within structures, within companies, within families, within to change the world. So we did this big campaign, and it was for the first time we were able to bring men to the conversation. And now this campaign went viral, which means that men want to talk, but they need to also have figures that they relate so that they can join the conversation without just seeing it as girl talk, A second thing that we're doing to challenge that is we just launched a membership program where for the first time people can directly join Free, and we decided it's not just for women. So 90% is women. We just launched this 2 months ago, but we have a few men, and this is something that we're going to focus on, bringing the men to the conversation, because this is not a problem, a woman problem. This is a world problem that we need to challenge.
I agree with what Yasmine said, that everything starts within, right? Within a family, and then how, I have a son, he's 10 years old. And as Camila said, I'm very lucky and blessed to have a husband that he had an amazing, career working in a bank he's a banker for 18 years. And when I decided 8 years ago to start and build MG, everyone was saying to me that I was crazy because I had a successful career within fashion. And I had to work really hard to find that position within the industry that I was. But when I was pregnant, I was like, I think it's time for me to change the way I'm going with my career and start my own business. But I never had an intention to be, a global market agency. For me, it was I'm going to be a mom, and it's balance of life, and I will start my own boutique agency. And, thankfully, things, starting getting to a very fast pace that I was not expecting, because we were one of the first, influencer market agents at the time. And after 3 years that MG was born, my husband said to me, it's actually working, and you're doing a great job. And he said, I think I'm going to leave his job that he was at the time, which was as a bank, to support you. And then for me, I remember that conversation, and I said to him, are you sure? Because it's your career. I don't want it later on you come to me and say, oh, I've left everything that I have, conquered behind me. And he said, no, I wanted to empower you because what you're doing is great, and I wanted to be behind you. And he actually quit his job, and he's been working and supporting me for 5 years, and behind the scenes. So no one knows, only if you know me really well, that I have my husband behind my business. And he doesn't want to be here at the stage. He doesn't want to be in Cannes Lions. He doesn't want to go to panels, because he wants me to be here. He wants me to be the one at the forefront of the agents, because he's proud. And then my son, he looks at that, and I remember when he was young, and he used to say, why you work more than dad? And then because he's the man. And then Bruno, my husband, just saying, Mom doesn't work more than dad, so we work equally, but she travels more because she's the founder of the agency, and she's the face, and then she's building the business, but we both work equally. So I don't want you to have the impression that Mom works more, but if she does, it's okay too. And because it's not because there's a man and that there's a woman that I have to work more than Mom. So Antonio, he's 10, and he really understands. And then how I translate that into my business is like I have a very diverse team, and it's a mix of men, women, LGBTQ+. So it's a mix, the mixes of language. I have Italians, I have friends, I have people from Nigeria. So it's a big mix. And they see me as a female leader, and they really respect me. So I think there's a change that I do within, but also within my business, because all the men that works for us, they see me as an inspirational, and they respect me, and they go out there and say, my CEO and founder, she's a woman, she's a foreign, so they feel proud of. So I think it's the combination of it started within, but how can you translate that into the business? Because when you get your voice out there and start to be respected, then I think is when men comes into, on board with you and trying to make the change together.
Well, I'll try to add a few things here. The first one is I adore the gender harmony, and I strongly believe in it because this is my point of view. I particularly dislike the dichotomy like we, them. I don't think it works. It doesn't take us anywhere. And yes, I also strongly believe that the new models of women and the new archetypes that we have will demand new archetypes for men as well. And I think potentially one of the big issues that we have in the world is like you see people like Taylor Swift, who is a new archetype for girls. And I didn't have that. I had Madonna in my time, even though she's pretty awesome as well. But it was a different way of looking at women. And then Beyonce did somehow a disservice to the whole beauty. Again, adore her. God forbid, and she'll never listen to that, but you know what I'm trying to say. But anyways, the point for me is just to confirm that we needed to balance out. I see that in two different ways personally. One is I also have a small, not as small anymore, nearly 12-year-old boy, and I can see I am a single mom most of the time, so I try to, as much as possible, offer him a more gender-neutral type of like parenthood. I don't want him to think, especially when I live in England, and when I go to schools, etc., it's always me. So I'm always the face. And sometimes I feel that even at his school, some sort of like prejudice. Okay, where's the guy? Where's the father? And I was like, no, it's me. And with time, then my son started to appreciate that. He actually calls me the fixer, because he's like, Mama, figure it out for me, please, whatever type of issues he have. Some I absolutely cannot, but some I do my best. But there is a lot of education that we need to bring, not only with kids, but a very good example. When I started the period campaign, I remember my line manager is a man, and I told him, look, we are going to do this campaign, this is what it's about, etc., etc. I did mention the profit, which I have to say, even for me to bring out the numbers of Dirt is Good, I was like, should I say it? Is it going to be a bit arrogant? But I was like, no, come on, I delivered that, let me just enjoy it. But going back to my line manager, I shared with him the campaign, and I told him, by the way, is the product. Our product has a massive competitive advantage because we removed those stains in 3 steps, etc. And then he looked at me and he said, Tati, I have a question. If women started to get their period around being 11, 12, 13, why do we still have leaks? Don't you master it? And then after a few years, no more leaks? I said, oh my God, let me explain to you. It's not, but imagine this situation in a meeting, and I was like super formal presenting it. And he was like, I don't understand it. After 10 years, you should know when your period will come, and then there wouldn't be leaks. He was basically challenging the premise of the campaign. And I was like, no. We never actually know when it comes. It's not that there is like 8 days, always the 8. But anyways, so this shows for me the lack of education. And it was pretty embarrassing that I have to explain that. But it happens. And to conclude, another important aspect is I work with laundry detergent. As you might imagine, when I started, 95% of our campaigns were targeting women. But nowadays, I'm very proud to say that even our latest innovation, we have a 50-50% in terms of targeting as much men as women, because I was like, no more. Yes, we did make a product that is easier for them to use. This is the feminist in me saying it, but I strongly believe in this harmony, and we needed to build this new world all together, even if it takes me to face up my son's professors and questions, or if it takes me to explain in a board meeting that women do leak. So it's part of the game.
I love this story. Amazing. So conscious of time, and I love that we talked about kids and building the future. So to wrap up before maybe we open to Q&A, I don't know if we have time for that, Rupa. Do we? Yeah. So last question would be about the future. Do you see any specific, thinking about the future, do you see any specific trend in terms of how businesses will use more and more creativity to drive positive impact and change? If you could mention one trend or anything that you see in the future happening in that sense, what would that be? Question for all of you.
Well, I think creativity is our biggest asset, especially with AI. So if we don't have our creativity on check, we're going to lose a lot of positions and space. So creativity is one of the things no one can take from you. And we need to water it, and we need to open us up. We need to free ourselves more and more so that the creative self can really come up. So the future, and especially with kids, it's very important that we teach this skill more and more. So for example, with Free, I get very nervous when we were only working with adults, that I was just like, people need to learn this earlier. Like, why are we suffering from all of this? Why are, young women or women still ashamed of their periods? They need to learn at school, right? So I think teaching creativity to kids, today we have free clubs at schools. where we teach our methodology to the kids, of course, adapted to their, to their age. And the amount of things that we are able to bring up at an early age and teach girls, boys, everyone to use their creativity, and they're not being crazy because they are different, it's very important.
I think the biggest challenge will be to teach kids to leave the algorithm and go explore. Because creativity is a collection of things you lived and experiences, and they all connect, and at some point, bling, an idea. So I think it's very dangerous that we stick to the phone a long time and only like consume content and information that we already liked before, and not look into the future of what's possible. So I think culture will be built by people who go outside, explore, and be curious and ask and be interested and actually listen when you're asking, like, what was your inspiration to the book? And actually being curious about other people. So I think that's the biggest skill, and culture will be built by people who are interested.
I really want to challenge brands because I recently understood the difference between community and cult, right? Community builds culture, cults also build culture. And I want to say to brands and everybody that it's about standing in solidarity with girls. You cannot you have to make campaigns and act on it. You have to really understand the problem. You cannot make a campaign and being all men behind it, right? You always have to have this diverse community behind it. And I find it frustrating that girls are not on this table. They're not on the conversation. And I really commend everyone here. Kudos to you. You are doing great work. And because of everyone here, girls are able to be on these places. So thank you.
I think when you think of the future, of course, we talk a lot about the AI, right? What's the impact of AI, not just now, but future-wise, and especially for young kids. So I think we cannot make them to be afraid of the future, these new technologies that are coming, because they're coming. So there's no way back, right? So even if you wanted to fight against, we're not going to be able to. So how can we look at new technologies like generative AI in a positive way if we can, right? Because I think the creativity, that's what Yasmine said, there's a lot of concerns about the future. Is generative AI is going to take place from creators, strategists, designs? No, it will not, because to use generative AI, you need to really understand coding in order to get the generative AI to actually get to your creativity idea. Because in order to get the AI to work in your favor, you need to know how to work with generative AI. So the creative still is going to be yours. It still is going to be your vision, is your idea. So it's just like, how can we look into the future in a positive way, because it's important that we continue to be positive with the change, because otherwise, if we start thinking that new technologies is going to, to take, jobs, and it is going to, to create a negative impact, then we're not going to be able to actually do the change that we wanted to do as the work that we are all doing. So, but how to continue to be purpose-driven, right? So not letting the technology take away the purpose, the creativity, the empowerment, and how to educate young kids about what it's coming, but again, in a positive way, because they can still... Because I have a son, right, 10 years old, I know how difficult it is to, okay, stop playing iPad, stop playing video game, let's paint now, let's go outside. So is your role as a parent as well to find the balance and educate? And but not letting them that to say that the future of technology it's going to be bad for them, because otherwise they're going to start growing up saying, oh my god, what's coming, it's bad. So how can you find a balance, get them to play outside, do the sport, but also educating them in a positive way about the future it's going to look like, because there is no way back, guys. It's just new technologies are coming and we're going to have to figure out how to make the positive out of it.
Wow, I'll just try to end it then. Tough. I just wanted to say that creativity is an act of resilience. So if you are not creative, you are not going to go about in your life in whatever you do. I think Camila mentioned it at the very beginning. You needed to be creative even when the odds are against you. So it's a beautiful act of resilience. It's what would make each and every one of us wake up and say, how can I do better? How I can be a better human being? How can I unleash my potential? And we can only do that. Sometimes we don't even realize by being creative.
Ladies, thank you so much for this conversation. Do we have any questions? Do we have time for that? I don't think so, right? There's one question over there.
Just a little anecdote. When I arrived, I saw Yasmine and I said, she looks familiar. I don't know if you remember me, but from our fashion days when you were in Vogue and I was at Vogue Grade. Yes. So many years ago. So I look forward to giving you a hug and catching up after. But I'm really inspired by what you're doing with Free Free. And my question is very simple. Aayati, where can we get the book?
So I'm pre-releasing here at UNGA. I'm launching it. So it's not available yet, but you can have a look. And this is my second book, and it's to inspire girls, young girls, to follow their dreams and ambitions. Yeah. It's not available yet, though.
September.
Just last question over there.
Yeah. 100%. We have a lot of members that are artists. Most of them, actually. They're creatives, they're artists. Art is a tool to express yourself and to unleash whatever, trauma is not necessarily something so extreme like what happened to me. Trauma, Gabor Mate explains trauma as how you relate to an experience, how your body feels about it. So it's not about being, huge trauma. It can be small ones. It can be something that happened to you right here at the street. All of us have trauma, from the bigger and the smallest, and we're not here to compare. So if you use art to unleash something that is within you, the trauma moves in your body. So artists can, through Free, they can use art to both generate awareness. If you think of Tracy Emin, Tracy Emin is a huge artist, and she went through the most horrible things in her life. And her life's work, is basically using art as a vehicle to express that to the world, but also for her own self. So she's freeing herself and she's freeing the world by doing art. And even if you're not an artist, art can be something, art doesn't need to be, art is everything you create, right? You can create art just by painting, whatever you want to do, by writing is art, so art is 100% part of Free. And artists do join because they can use art to make change, but also people that are not artists, they can use art as a tool. Does that answer your question? Yes, we can talk further. Yeah.
I know this question wasn't directed to me, but I'm an artist as well. And to say that I'm an artist, you can find my...
We're all artists.
Yes. You can find my work at the Martin Luther King House, Maya Angelou House. And what I really think art, not that question wasn't directed to me, but art can be used to drive change. And it's not to drive change, but it's about creating change. And I think art is very powerful in that way.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you had such a great time as I had here. And thank you, ladies, again for the conversation, super insightful. And yeah, hope to see you all soon. Thank you so much.